Now you're listening to Fantastic Formosa with Joh Abrams in Taipei. This is Fantastic Formosa with Joh Abrams, and we have a wonderful guest today. Her name is Luna, and Luna is a world traveler who's been everywhere in her life. And Luna, thank you for coming on the show.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Wendell. How are you today?
Well, I'm pretty good. It is always great to have you around and talk to you. We often have coffee and talk about Taipei and Taiwan and America and Europe and Hong Kong and
Right.
everything. Yeah. So tell us about your earlier life. Where did you grow up? And
So I was actually growing up in Russia. Many of you probably have heard about Russia. You know where Russia is.
Soviet Union.
Yeah, Russia.
Is that where you were born, though?
No. I was born in Asia. Then I traveled everywhere with my grandparents who were diplomats. So I ended up in Russia, and I spent my formative years in Russia. Then I moved
Moscow, or
yeah, I lived in Moscow.
So you speak perfect Russian.
Yeah, I speak Russian.
Okay, great. And they were diplomats in Moscow?
Yes, they were there. But they moved around a lot, like your diplomats.
Right.
They traveled the world as well.
Every 3 years they got a new posting, maybe.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you were in Russia?
I was a teenager.
Okay. Wow, that's got to be the most boring place in the world to be if you're a teenager.
Not at all. You've never been there. How can you say?
Well, this is the Soviet Union, where they probably didn't have a lot of rock and roll. I don't know. Did
rock
they?
and roll. Well, they have their own version of everything. You don't need to go to Memphis to listen to Elvis. So I'm sure lots of your listeners will know of Russia and Russian culture and music. Tell me if you ever heard about that. Write to us.
Yeah, I mean it's an amazing story. Where did you go after the Soviet Union?
So after my study, I went to Europe and started working for an international news agency that also allowed me to travel even more. Then I went back to Asia, worked there a few years, and then most of my adulthood I actually spent in the UK. You could probably hear from how my accent is different from Wendell's.
Yeah, my ability to figure out where you're from was very difficult on the phone when I first spoke to you. I knew there was a British accent there, but it wasn't quite British. I thought maybe Singapore.
No way.
No, I
do not speak Singlish.
Yeah, we do call Singapore English Singlish.
Singlish, yeah.
They have a very interesting way of speaking.
Really, la?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I guess my accent is a mixture of everything. But, I mean, mostly British because I use lots of British words.
Right. So you learned English where exactly?
I never learned English. I was...
You didn't go to school to study or okay. No. So when you left Moscow with your grandparents, you went to the next station posting.
Yeah.
Which was where again?
Do I need to subject to this interrogation?
No, you don't have to say anything if it's too personal or whatever.
Yeah. So let's just say that after study, I went to work in Europe.
All right. You're sort of like a chess champion of some sort, right?
No, I never played chess.
You never played chess. I thought someone told me that you were really good at playing chess.
Really? Who told you that?
I don't know. I ask around, when I want to interview somebody, I always ask, what can we talk about? Maybe I should have asked you what we can talk about. But so you got this international media. You're traveling around the world and going to these what we call interesting stories. Wars. Maybe did you go to any wars or?
Well, I didn't take part in any war, but yes, we covered, quite a few wars when I was working in England. By covering, I meant that we were, writing news based on people who were there. But I never went to any kind of, frontline war scene to report on that.
I see. So you, so they would just send you wherever you wanted to go, or where they needed you.
Yeah, they sent me when where they needed me, and the big stories that happened around the world that needed to be written about. So they sent me to quite a few conferences. I have,
Like famous diplomatic conferences?
Yes, international conferences, symposiums, you name it.
Like, I think one of the more famous ones in Asia is the Shangri-La Dialogue.
Indeed. I'm actually going to the Shangri-La Dialogue next month.
Yeah, I've been 11 to 12 times, I think it is. I discovered the secret for going to that show. You don't go to the conference. You stay outside the conference.
Really?
Have you been there?
Well, I've been to Shangri-La Dialogue. For those of you who don't know what Shangri-La Dialogue is, it is the biggest security forums in Asia, and it's organized by the London-based, actually. What's that called? The
ISS?
Yeah.
The International, what is it?
Security and Strategic Studies
Institute
in London.
Right.
It takes place every year in Singapore at a hotel called Shangri-La Hotel, and that's why it's called Shangri-La Dialogue. They talk mainly about defense and security, but unfortunately, because Taiwan is not accredited, so there's never been a Taiwanese delegation. Right?
Not official.
No, not official.
But they do attend.
Okay.
They have, I would call them professors or former officials. They do have some representatives there. What you do at that conference is what you just go to the lounge area where it has about 1,000 seats, and you just mingle. Mingle means talk to different people, and you drink lots of coffee, and you can find out all the secret information.
Or not.
Yeah, and that works far better than going to the conference, which is one speech and then another speech, and you just fall asleep. And those poor journalists upstairs, they're typing away, and they don't know what's going on. So how often did you have to file a story when you went to this conference? Like every hour, every...
No, I'm not a news agency person, so I don't have to file that much. Just when I see something interesting, I don't even know what the main topic this time is going to be. Probably the Philippines. You probably heard about the tensions in the South China Sea between the Philippines and China.
Right.
So, and the Philippine president is going to attend and deliver a keynote speech. So we expect that he's going to talk a lot about relationship with China. That's probably interesting.
Now, this is the Marcos family that's in charge now? Right. Okay. Yeah. The Philippines was the history there with the American government is very old. We didn't know where the Philippines was when we got it because there was a Spanish Civil War, or the Spanish-American War in Cuba or something, and we won. And the Spanish government gave us, I think it was Puerto Rico and the Philippines. And nobody knew where the Philippines was. So
Actually, I think your listeners, people who were born in and brought up in Taiwan, probably know more about the Philippines than yourself, because have you heard about Spanish Formosa?
No, Spanish Formosa, no.
Yeah, so it's a basically Spanish Empire colony, and the Philippines was one, and they extended into Taiwan. That's why Taiwan was called Formosa, which is the beautiful island.
Really?
Yeah. So and those lots of relics in Taiwan that actually point to that period of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there have been folks that come and go. They come here for a while. They don't seem to stay very long. Who else was here for a while? The Portuguese, maybe?
The Dutch.
The Dutch, that's right. The Dutch were here, and I don't know why they left. They just moved on. We used to call Taiwan Fortress Formosa. Back during the Cold War.
So the Spanish Formosa actually was centralized around Chillon, that port city, that was actually the capital of that
time
Spanish
period.
Formosa. And until these days, there's still lots of fortress and walls that belong to that time. See, you learn new things every day.
Yeah. I love exploring these old places, particularly the old Japanese military bases, the caves, what we call pillboxes, and some of the ones that they had on the East Coast that were designed to fight the Americans. A lot of Taiwanese young people don't know the history here at all about the Americans and the Japanese fighting.
Well, they probably know about the Japanese, right? Because Japan actually exerts such an influence over Taiwan.
Yes. Huge, yes. Yeah, we had I think the largest air battle during the war was over just north of Taipei, between the Japanese and the Americans. So, all this amazing history, and nobody was taught this history. But you've been here how long now?
Just over a year.
Okay. And what do you think? You like it?
Yeah, I love Taiwan. Taiwan is easily one of the most beautiful countries in the world. I mean, I don't like the weather in Taipei. I mean, nobody likes the weather in Taipei.
Oh.
But apart from that,
the rain or the heat,
perfect.
or
the rain. It rains more than London.
Really?
Yeah.
You think so?
It does, definitely.
I thought London was famous for rain and fog.
No, that's so untrue. I came directly from London, right? And it rains more here. And but I like it. It's beautiful here, and people are really nice and very friendly. Everyone is acting like they work for the tourism board.
Yes.
Yeah.
When I first came here, we didn't have cell phones, particularly smartphones, and I would get out a map because I was lost, and someone was always there. I mean, 2 or 3 people come up to me and want to help me. And I go, well, thanks, wow, I'd meet new friends all the time. And
really like that, yeah.
But other parts of Asia, I was always if someone came up to you, you're like, oh, there's going to be trouble.
The only complaint I have is slippery pavements of Taipei. Have you noticed that? It's just notorious, isn't it?
The ceramic tiles they use outside their shops.
Yeah, and the granite.
The granite can be safe.
Oh my God!
But it's not pretty.
I slipped so many times.
Really?
add to the rain, right? It's just so precarious, so dangerous.
I wear boots usually when I go on a rainy day. I have fallen on my butt so many times. That's
Really?
embarrassing.
Is that why you're limping?
I limp because I broke my leg as a child, and when they set it, this is before X-ray machines. I'm just joking. They set my bone wrong, and when they took the cast off, it would never straighten out, and it turns to the right when I walk, and it makes me look like Frankenstein, or Frankenstein walks funny. Frankenstein's the old monster, or it makes me look like a duck. And so I've always had sympathy for people who are handicapped or people who suffered from some sort of problem. So I never made fun of anybody who walked funny or talked funny or whatever. There must be a history there somewhere. But yeah, I can see it. And I'm a big guy, physically, and that makes me look even worse when I walk, probably. So, and I'm getting older. And when you get older, the bones begin to make strange noises when you walk, and popping noises, and you start to do.
You talk more about illnesses when you get older, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
You should remember that your leadership. Your listeners, your audience.
They are my
probably
leaders.
Is very young. No.
My listeners are my leadership. Sorry, they're young. Yeah. Yeah, when you're young and you are healthy, it can be very frustrating to be stuck on a base with nothing to do and only be able to go out on the weekends maybe. And
listen to music and radio programs.
I listen to my radio program and, hopefully learn some English. So, yes. Taiwan is just one of the most exceptional, friendly, beautiful countries in the world. I have never had a problem with anybody where I felt like I had to protect myself.
And it's so safe, isn't it? I mean, you really never have to worry about, robbery,
right,
mugging, anything like that.
I've had one burglary.
Really?
But it was my own fault.
Oh, wow. Where is it?
This was in it wasn't Damshui. It was Tenmu.
Okay.
When
was it?
My roommate, she did not lock the doors. And I asked her why she didn't do it, and she said, because we're not going to be robbed. And I thought, well, okay, this is cultural, maybe. And we were, finally. What was embarrassing to me personally, is a personal embarrassment, is I went through my CD music collection. And these kids, I think they're high school kids, they didn't like any of my music. They just threw it on.
They didn't take any.
They didn't steal any of it.
Shame on you.
And they went through it. You could tell they went through it, and they threw it on the bed. Oh, my, what's this? Never heard of it. But they did take my really nice camera, professional journalist-style camera. They took my fax machine.
Oh, so that must be a long time ago then.
It was a long time ago. Yeah.
No one uses fax machines anymore. Gosh.
Well, sometimes they still do.
Nobody does.
Here, but,
who does?
What was I knew they were kids because they didn't take my passport.
Right.
And it was right there on my desk, and they obviously didn't know how valuable that would be. When passports were easier to copy. It's much harder to do this now, to make a fake passport. Computer systems, fingerprint and facial recognition. They know exactly who you are. Does that make you nervous that all these computer systems know what country you're in and what you're doing all the time? And
Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that's what we we call it Big Brother? That's what we call this
Yes.
system of. A famous writer named George Orwell wrote a book called. Well, he wrote two great books, Animal Farm and 1984, in which the world has slightly become a sort of insane, crazy world where they always know where you are, what you're doing. And it's like today, algorithms, computer algorithms, you know, they know exactly what your favorite color is. They know where you shop. They know what you like, and you get advertisements for those things.
Makes it actually much more difficult to keep like military secrets, isn't it? I'm curious how the military keeps their classified stuff classified.
It becomes increasingly difficult to keep secrets in any institution, whether it's a business, a company. This has become a huge problem, right? We have hackers, computer hackers now that can get into any computer. We have a great group here, actually. It's quite fun if you ever get a chance to go. It's called Hackers in Taiwan Conference. HitCon, we call it.
All right. Yeah.
And they're all, I first went to this thinking that they'd all be adults.
Right.
But they're like 14, 15, 16.
Really? Yeah, I heard that Taiwanese hackers are actually best in the world. I mean, one of the best. The Minister of Information or something. She or he. They also former hackers. I mean, what's the name?
Yeah, I think that's a new ministry, right?
Yeah, Audrey.
Okay, right. Yeah, they're getting more and more interested in
Audrey Tang, I think.
Yeah, they're getting more interested in this stuff. I know that international companies come to Taiwan to recruit from these kids that go to Hackers in Taiwan who are members. And that's impressive for any country to have foreign companies like IBM and Microsoft and, Apple to come to Taiwan just to meet 16-year-old kids, who don't even have a high school degree yet. And, say, look, you can work for us.
In that regard, Taiwan is very advanced compared to other countries. Yeah.
Yeah, and America is going, it's just so, education's so bad in America now. It's so embarrassing. Oh, my God. We have a lot of problems in America. We have our drugs, fentanyl, which is the number one killer of men now in America. That's amazing. There's riots on campus. We have a big election coming up, huge presidential election. Have you ever covered a presidential election before?
I have indeed, yes.
Which one?
So back in, I think it's 2016.
Oh, that's a fun one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the surprise one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was actually interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone wasn't sure who won, right? And when it was.
So who is going to win this election then?
Oh my
Trump.
God! I don't know
Trump
what.
isn't going to win, right?
I think he probably is. I'm sad to say that America has so much talent that we can't find anybody better than the two people currently running. I don't understand what's going on in America. I've been gone for almost 30 years, and when I go back to America, it's like visiting another planet. People are worried about things I don't understand. They complain about things I don't understand. They have what we call conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories are beliefs that can't possibly be true. For example, a lot of Americans believe we have a UFO at Area 51. They believe it as much as they believe in God. It just, you cannot tell them any different. Do you have any conspiracy theories that you enjoy?
No.
No.
I try not to dwell on that because, I mean, really.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, as a journalist, yeah, you sort of have to try not to get involved in anything like that.
Yeah.
It's always dangerous to promote anything that cannot be what we call confirmed, right? Yes. So, what do you do in Taiwan? Do you hike? Do you bicycle? What do you like to do?
I walk around a lot. It's just really nice when it's not too hot. Yeah, I walk around. I go to the gym. I go shopping. I go eating a lot.
Okay, you're
put on like 10 kg since I arrived.
Really? You're so
Yeah.
small. Okay.
Well, small doesn't mean thin.
Well, okay. You're not fat either.
Oh, thank you. That's the worst compliment you can give to a woman.
I'm sorry.
You're not fat.
I'm sorry. No. You're like my wife. I can't say anything good. If I say you've lost some weight, you look good. What does that mean? What does that mean? And where I say, oh, you should exercise a little bit more. And she goes, oh, what does that mean? What does that mean? I go, oh, no.
Yeah.
No win.
Not say anything.
I can't say anything. And then she wants to know what I think all the time. And that's the most dangerous question to ask your husband. What do you think? And I don't know what she's referring to.
And what is your answer then?
I don't know what she's talking about. I don't know anything about what she's asking. So, what do you mean? What do I think? Oh, you know. I go, no, I don't know. Yes, you do. And I go, oh, no. This is an international thing with women. This is not Taiwan. This is all over the world. Wives do this. She's also very paranoid.
Is she Taiwanese?
Yes. I think all women are paranoid. Is that true?
No.
Okay.
Who's every woman? It's not true at all. Paranoid. What do you mean by paranoid?
Well, that would be a stereotype to say all women are paranoid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My wife, I take my cell phone, my smartphone out, and then, it's a touch phone. You just touch the glass. So I wipe it down clean of all the fingerprints. And then I lay it down on next to my bed to go shower. And my wife is there with her computer, and she's typing, watching some movie. So I come back, whenever I'm done, and then I look at the phone, and there's fingerprints all over it. And she pretends that it wasn't her.
Well, if she wanted, she would have wiped it clean. But, maybe she wanted you to know that, she's been watching you.
Yeah. Well, she says, one of the things she always says about me, she says, you're getting old now. I'm worried about you. Now, that doesn't make me feel like a man. It makes me feel like a little boy or something. I'm worried about you. You should be watched. Someone should keep track of you. So you don't have these problems?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
Well, you're probably younger than I am, probably, I think. Much younger.
Everyone can tell.
Oh.
Well, your listeners probably can tell from the voice.
Oh, I see. I'm a mean old man.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you are still young and vibrant and energetic.
I'm just thinking, Taiwanese women actually are, one of the most attractive in Asia. They really, well cared for. They look presentable. They're friendly. They're very sophisticated, right? I think you're lucky. you got married to a Taiwanese woman.
Mm.
I wonder about Taiwanese men, though. I mean, I have no experience and no Taiwanese like male friends.
Mm.
I can't really tell.
Well, my children are mixed, right? So they go to school and they have friends that are Taiwanese, of course, and they tell them about their fathers. And my sons tell me, well, their father lets them do these things. Their father play video games.
I think it's a trick.
It's always a trick. I did the same thing when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Oh, the other fathers.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're right. The women here in Taiwan, I don't know what it is, and it must be in the water or something. They're just incredibly beautiful. And I think that, they maintain themselves in a way that I don't fully understand. In America, we eat what we call processed foods from the grocery store. That means that they're foods that are made in factories, whether it's potato chips or Coca-Cola or whatever it is.
Which you are drinking now.
Well, I'm drinking soda pop, yes, sugar. But it also has something called cornstarch in it. And that's probably why Americans are 300 pounds and going on 400 pounds very quickly. But in Taiwan, people actually go to the markets and they buy fresh fruits and vegetables and even meat. So is that your experience? Do you eat at home? Do you make your own foods?
No, I eat outside. But I think, the food here is actually very, very well prepared. So as you said, the restaurant owners, they go to the market and they get stuff and then they cook it themselves. Not a lot of processed foods, and so it's quite healthy. Taiwanese food is really, really good, isn't it? And eating out is not that expensive compared to doing shopping and then cooking at home. So I think it's very easy to basically eat out every night.
It's cheap here. One of the big surprises for me coming from Tokyo and Seoul and other countries is how much everything costs here. It's so cheap.
It's actually Japan is not too bad now because the yen is so weak.
Oh.
So I went to Japan last month.
Okay.
And it was actually so much cheaper. Yeah, so it's really good, really affordable.
Well, then, the famous taxis in Japan are always supposed to be extremely expensive. You might as well fly from from your hotel to the airport, not to take a taxi. So that's gone down in price.
That's gone down, yeah.
All right. What was the mood in Tokyo?
The usual. I mean, the Japanese are quite reserved. They don't really, they're not opening up very quickly and very easily to foreigners. Very polite, very courteous.
Okay.
It's the old Japan, really.
Yeah. I've always found them to be very cautious, careful about becoming too friendly, I think. I'm not sure how to describe it, but they're not like Taiwanese where they're very friendly. They really want to be your friend.
But the Japanese and the Taiwanese are quite similar in many ways. They both belong to kind of that culture. I don't know how to call it because obviously they're two different countries and different languages. But so many things that you can find here that remind you of Japan. I mean, obviously Taiwan was Japan's colony for 50 years.
Yes.
But I think looking at the influence and what remained from that time, you probably think that it's not 50 years, but probably something like 500 years, because I mean everything you could find better like teppanyaki here than in Tokyo.
Yeah, strange, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard this from Japanese who come here who just love the place.
Yeah.
Particularly the
Feel very much at home.
hot springs, which were probably a Japanese invention, I guess.
Yeah, in Beidou, right?
They created these things all over the island.
Yeah.
And they considered Taiwan, I think, part of Japan, didn't they?
Yes.
It was not considered a foreign country. So, yeah, a lot of people here served in the Japanese military during the war, surprisingly.
Right.
So, another history lesson that nobody knows much about. We have a presidential election coming up in the United States. It's going to be crazy. We have a Democratic Party convention in Chicago.
All right.
And that's a famous place because of the 1968 Democratic Convention, which was a riot. The whole city.
Are you a Democrat?
I'm confused.
Yeah.
I don't think I can be anything anymore.
But most of military people in the States are Republican, right?
I think it's because of the order. We like order. We like stability. We don't like do whatever you want to do. Be happy. Sort of like, you can be happy, but you don't have to have. I don't know. That's probably the whole thing. Having a rules to live by, code of conduct. And this election is crazy. Trump is running it again, and Biden appears to be running again. There's a lot of rumors that they want to get him out of that position because they suggest that he's got dementia.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, dementia is where you become old and you cannot remember anything. You cannot think clearly. You forget the name of your wife. It's we call it being
useful sometimes.
Yeah. Some old men might appreciate that, actually, and women. We call it senile, being senile, not remembering your. And he seems to be. He doesn't seem to know where he is sometimes.
Oh, dear.
Does that worry you?
Well, not me, but it should worry you as an American citizen.
I see.
mean, how to have that kind of people to lead your country to a better future.
Well, that's the whole problem, right? Do you believe America is this great superpower that is the protector of freedom and liberty around the world?
No comment.
I would suggest that she's not a believer in American great power.
You don't have to suggest anything.
Politics.
Let your listeners decide for themselves.
Well, she might be right, folks. America seems to be getting weaker and weaker politically, economically. Education system is falling apart. The whole thing's kind of scary when I go back to the United States.
When were you there last?
I was there 3 years ago.
So it's a long time ago. Things probably changed.
Well, I lived in a small town, countryside, and we have a lot of animals like horses and cows and a lot of deer running around, and so we don't really think much about politics very often. We don't really argue about it. But this time, people are like very worried about the future, I think, based on my phone calls back home. And I think they're worried about stability. in the United, and they have this new movie out
Mm.
called what was Civil War. Have you seen it?
No.
Apparently, this new movie is called Civil War, and it's about a civil war in America.
All right.
And these 4 journalists tried to get to Washington D.C. And it's actually just a movie about a road trip. People that every 20, 30 miles there's another problem.
Mm.
So it's sort of an adventure, but it's also a very scary film. The Americans are, we have a lot of guns, and it's a very strange culture. But now England, London, doesn't have guns, right? You can't buy a gun.
No, it's illegal.
Oh, I see. That must be the problem, I guess.
Problem for what?
I mean, America, people are afraid to make people angry.
Yeah. Really? Yeah, right.
So you're nice to everybody. So what is your May 20th is coming up, and there's going to be an inauguration here for a new president?
That's right. Yes.
Will you be covering that?
I will be going to the ceremony. I don't know whether I will cover that, but I'll be there.
Now, you had to get there pretty early, don't you?
I think 5 a.m.
That's pretty early.
Yeah.
5 a.m. just to cover it.
Mm.
I have found these. I don't go anymore. I just decided that no. It's 5 a.m. and then you wait for 4 hours before anything even starts.
Yeah, probably.
As a journalist,
but you've got to go and check everything in and
security. I just can't stand around for 4 hours waiting for something to happen.
Were you there last time?
No, I haven't been in years.
No.
I just gave up. I'm very impatient.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like crowds. I don't like to be in a large
crowd. Very
crowd.
organized, though. I mean, from my experience, everything here is very organized.
Yeah, it is organized.
Yeah.
But, I think the last one was at least 10 years ago, maybe 15. I just go insane, crazy if I can't do something with my time. I don't know about you, but what do you do for 4 hours waiting around?
Half of the time will be spending security check and stuff. And then, chatting with other people around, see how things goes. I don't know.
So basically, you don't get nervous like I do.
Why do you get nervous?
Crowds.
So that is
large groups of
mental
people.
Problem.
The crowd. They call it claustrophobia.
Claustrophobia is not about crowd. It's about being confined into a limited space or something.
Well, crowd is a limited space, right? If you go into a night market here on Friday night, you can't walk more than a foot or two. It's very slow. I get kind of.
I've never been to a night market. Actually.
Here?
Yeah, I went to have a meal something at about 6 p.m. at some point, but it's not really night markets. In it, you've got to go at the peak of the night time.
Okay.
So it's 9 or 10 p.m. or something to see is that right? I don't know. I mean, so near where I live, there's a night market, but I'm always too early. I go there and I have something to eat, and then when I go home and people start coming in, so it's just I don't experience that crowds and things. Yeah,
I liked in the beginning, my earlier adventures in Asia, I liked the night markets because they were unique and exotic and noises and lights and strange noises, whatever. But today I just try to stay out of them, except in the early hours. But Luna, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
And hopefully we can have you on the next episode.
hopefully.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, guys.
Yeah.